Chapter 14. The story of the moment. We only have the present for a moment. Then it becomes the past. However, the future is only a moment away. There is tremendous power in a moment because all life changes in it. A tragedy, a first meeting of someone new, the arrival of a baby, the loss of a loved one, a new understanding, a realization, a new piece of knowledge or information, a word from a stranger, a sentence in a book, a line from a song, a moment of inspiration, a hug from a friend, a decision, a new perspective, the words I can, the words I can't, the words I do, and the words I don't. All these and many more moments can dramatically change the trajectory of our lives. Our mission is to dance in that moment. We need to be so tuned into our values that we can immediately understand the potential of each moment, for good or ill, without basing our reactions solely on our emotions. Our natural reaction is to make a judgment in the moment, and judgments are generally based on perceived facts followed quickly by an emotion. I remember hearing a story that had a big impact on me in relation to the challenges that may cause other people to react in certain ways that can be impacted in a moment. A man, tired from a late night in his office and struggling with some work issues, gets on a late train home. The carriage is empty, and he appreciates the calm and peaceful atmosphere. It's dark outside, and the rhythmic sound of the train on the track is somehow soothing. The train pulls into a station where a man and two young boys get into his carriage. The man sits in a seat and seems to be lost in his own thoughts. The two boys think they have just found a new playground and are boisterous, climbing on the seats and chasing each other with squeals of laughter. The first man is very annoyed that his peace has been shattered and that the father of these children would pay no heed to their activities and control them. After putting up with it for a while, he can stand it no longer. He is indignant that his world should be interrupted by these children, so he gets up and approaches the father. "Excuse me," he says abruptly. "Would you mind controlling your children? I've had a hard day at work and would appreciate some peace on my journey home." The father looks up at him as though coming out of a daze. "Oh, sorry, sir. I wasn't aware my children were making so much noise. I've just come from the hospital where their mother has died, and I guess we're all a bit emotionally charged. I'm trying to figure out how to explain to them that they won't see her again. I'll tell them to calm down. Sorry about that." The first man returned to his seat with a very different attitude and a different opinion of his own challenges than when he had left it just a moment ago. Be willing to make allowances in the moment. You really don't know what's going on in other people's lives. Be grateful for the life you have, even in the midst of your own challenges. A few years ago, I came across an article on how samurai study and develop the different aspects of their training. I was fascinated by their ability to view and sense their surroundings without attaching judgment to it. Let me explain. In order to get a clean understanding of what is around them, they employ each of their senses for information. They close their eyes and first use their ears to concentrate on what sounds they can hear. They identify the sounds, but do not add judgment to the information at that point. For example, if it's a pleasant sound or an irritating sound. Then they use their sense of smell to again identify their surroundings, then touch and taste as appropriate. Lastly, they use their sight to again add to the information. Adding all this clean information together, by clean I mean information with no emotional attachment, allows them to get a real understanding of what is around them. Based on the collective information, they make an overall judgment and decide their next move. I was interested in this approach and decided to try it in the following manner. In the morning when I woke up, before opening my eyes, each day I would choose a different sense to examine. I would keep my eyes closed and listen to the sounds around me. I could hear the hum of the traffic, the movement of the other people in my house, the sound of my wife in the shower, the birds on a nearby tree, the rustle of the bedclothes, maybe even a fly against the window. I would work to identify each individual sound I could hear. I did not make a judgment on that sound. That is, whether I liked it or not, the exercise was solely to identify it. The next day, I would use my smell sense to identify any odor I could sense, and so on with my other senses. Try it during your day. On the bus, in a coffee shop, on a queue, at your desk. Just stop for a few moments, become conscious of your surroundings, the sounds, the smells, the sights, the reactions of the people around you, and how you fit into that environment. It will amaze you what goes on around you that you don't generally notice. Be conscious of hearing and seeing people speak and act in certain ways, and acknowledge what you are sensing without applying judgment to it. Not easy at the start, but very powerful when developed. You will learn that in most conversations, people will say something that may be factual, and then immediately follow it with an opinion. The opinion part is based on the emotional attachment they have applied to the fact, and in almost every case will override the meaning of the fact. Is there a problem with that? Well, since we know that an emotion triggers a thought, which causes a feeling, which is what promotes an action, then the outworking of a fact followed by an emotional opinion is that any action taken is based on the feeling and not necessarily on the fact. This can produce bad decisions. Example, I hit the side of my car off the gate post as I drove into the drive-in, which is a fact. I'm an idiot, which is an opinion. In this simple case, you are putting yourself down and hurting your self-image. Since we know that your success in life is tied in with your self-image and the stories you tell yourself, then that opinion of yourself would be best not encouraged. So, what should I say in the example above? I hit the side of my car off the gate post as I drove into the drive-in. Fact. I need to be more aware of my surroundings and concentrate more when I'm driving. Opinion. Your car has a scratch on it whether you beat yourself up or encourage yourself to do better the next time. Learn from the experience and leave the negative emotion behind. This is the true value of learning. You build the picture of your life on the inside, and it is delivered to you on the outside. That power is always on and always delivers what you picture, without judgment of good or bad, right or wrong. The image that you add emotion to, and that emotion can be a positive or negative emotion, is taken on face value by your subconscious and activated immediately. The results may not show up immediately, but the process is started. Gratitude is one of the most powerful emotions you can learn to develop, and practicing it in the moment will be amazingly beneficial to you. When you find yourself on a long queue in a shop or in traffic, take this valuable time to remember all the things you are grateful for. That might start with being grateful for having enough money to buy your daily needs in the shop you are in, or being grateful in the traffic that you have a car and have somewhere to go. Take some time when you are in your quiet time to write down all the things you are grateful for so you can bring them to mind often. It can help us to be more understanding of the people around us and accepting that they may not be as blessed as we are. When someone says something about us that hurts us and that we feel is judgmental, it's because it opens a file that we have hidden in our subconscious, where we keep all the things that we believe about ourselves, usually negative things. We've heard all those things before because we've been saying them to ourselves at a conscious or subconscious level. This is a great opportunity to examine those beliefs and finally discard them. Those situations bring us to where our programming and stories about ourselves takes place and gives us access to the controls that can change them. Remember, it's our enemies that point out our weaknesses. With this in mind, be thankful for those people who cause you to examine your thinking, your attitudes, and your reasoning. You might normally have made a negative judgment about them for hurting your feelings, but now you can sincerely thank them for exposing that area of your self-image. Sometimes, on our way to building our designer life, we will be tempted to take shortcuts to get there quicker, and we fall or jump back into the competitive world because we see a chance of a quick win. Be very careful of this. The creative works in such a way as to bring success with no strife or sorrow added. Here is an example story. There were two men in a hospital ward. Their beds were positioned in such a way that one man was beside the window and his companion's bed was on the other side of the room. Both men had sickness that didn't allow them to get out of their beds, so the man beside the window would describe all the wonderful things he could see outside to his roommate. The beautiful park, with trees in leaf, the flower beds, the children playing, the duck pond with the young ducklings following their mother across the pond, the families having their picnic on colorful blankets, the gardener trimming the grass and attending to the flower beds, the unusual shapes that the clouds made, the mothers pushing their prams along the tree-lined street, the policeman directing the traffic at the intersection, the window cleaner working his way around the many windows on the building across the street, the people making their way to the service at the small church on the corner. Every day a new adventure was described in colorful detail by the man in the bed beside the window. Oh, how his friend loved to hear about the life going on outside. It filled him with joy and hope that one day soon he would get to enjoy this life outside the 4 gray walls of his room. Over time, he became jealous of his friend by the window. Why was he the one who got to see this wonderful life going on outside? Why didn't he have the bed beside the window? These thoughts grew a bitterness on the inside of him. He became resentful. He couldn't enjoy the stories of life on the outside that his friend told him every day. They used to bring such sunshine into his life, but now they were eating him up on the inside. One fateful day, his friend in the bed beside the window began to struggle for breath. His illness was getting the better of him. He was flapping around the bed, trying to reach the call button for assistance. He frantically waved at his friend opposite him to call for medical help, but in that moment, his friend's bitterness now came to bloom. He looked at the struggling man and thought to himself, if he doesn't make it through this, I could get the window bed and enjoy all the beautiful sights that I have only heard about. He simply lay there, watching his friend lose his battle for his life. When the nurse arrived, it was too late. The struggle was over. After his friend was removed from the room, he asked the nurse if he might be moved to the bed by the window. She agreed and rearranged the beds. With tremendous excitement, he waited for the blinds to be open the next morning. When the nurse brought in the breakfast and opened the blinds, he discovered that all that could be seen out the window was the plain brick wall of the building next to it. No park, no trees, no pond, no church, no policeman, no ducks, nor picnics on colorful blankets. His friend in the bed by the window had made up every story of the beautiful world outside, just to keep his sick friend opposite him uplifted and encouraged. He just wanted to make life inside the gray hospital ward more bearable for him. That story stings my eyes every time I remember it. I don't feel the need to explain anything from it. You must draw out the many meanings for yourself. I will simply say this: there is no one reading this that cannot learn something from it. Every moment is precious, and while you may have to look at some moments with your eyes of faith to see the jewel in it, it's well worth the effort. You can always find something to be grateful for.